Good evening, everyone. As chair of the commission, I call this meeting of the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission to order at 6:03 p.m. This meeting is being live streamed on YouTube, www.youtube.com/MICHSOSOFFICE/videos. For anyone in the public watching who would prefer to watch via a different platform than they currently are using, please visit our social media at Redistricting Michigan to find the link for viewing on YouTube. Our live stream today includes closed captioning. Closed captioning, ASL interpretation, and Spanish and Arabic translation services will be provided for effective participation in this meeting. Email us at redistricting@michigan.gov for additional viewing options or details on accessing language translation services for this meeting. People with disabilities needing other specific accommodations should also contact redistricting@michigan.gov. This meeting is being recorded and will be available at www.michigan.gov/MICRC for viewing at a later date. This meeting is also being transcribed, and those transcriptions will be made available and posted on michigan.gov/MICRC, along with written public comment submissions. There's also a public comment portal that may be accessed by visiting michigan.gov/MICRC. This portal can be utilized to post maps and comments, which can be viewed by both the commission and the public. Members of the media who may have questions before, during, or after the meeting should direct those questions to Edward Woods III, Communications and Outreach Director for the Commission at woodse3@michigan.gov. For the purposes of the public watching and the public record, I will turn to Department of State staff to take note of the commissioners present.
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 Present, attending remotely from Reed City, Michigan.
Present.
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 She had to step away for a moment. She'll return shortly and we'll have her announce herself as here.
If that was Aaron Wagner, present, attending remotely from Charlotte, Michigan.
Present. Present.
Thank you, Ms. Reinhardt. Moving on in our agenda for the evening, if there are no objections, I would like Commissioner Weiss to come to us to provide a presentation, a welcome, and an introduction. Hearing no objection, please proceed, Commissioner Weiss.
Good evening. My name is Richard H. Weiss, and I'm from Saginaw, Michigan. I live in Saginaw Township. Welcome to the MICRC public hearing in Flint, Michigan. We are happy you are here to learn about Michigan's new redistricting process and how you can engage throughout this process to ensure your voice is heard. In looking at the agenda, please note that the vast majority of our time this evening is spent listening to you. We are eager to hear your ideas, either in person or remotely, about drawing Michigan's congressional, House, and Senate districts. In addition to hearing about district lines, we are also want to hear your ideas about communities of interest. At this time, I would like my fellow colleagues to introduce themselves and share where they live in Michigan, the Great Lakes State. And I would like Ms. Commissioner Lang and Commissioner Wagner and then starting to my right after that.
Welcome, everybody. I'm Rhonda Lang, and I'm from Reed City, Michigan.
Hello and welcome. I'm Erin Wagner and I'm from Charlotte, Michigan.
Hi, welcome. My name is Dustin Witches, and I am from Ypsilanti, Michigan.
Good evening. I'm Douglas Clark, and I'm from Rochester Hills, Michigan.
Good evening, everyone. I am Brittany Kellum, and I reside in Detroit, Michigan.
Good evening. My name is Juanita Curry, and I reside in Detroit, Michigan.
Good evening, Rebecca Zatella. I reside in Wayne County, Michigan.
Yeah.
Hello, Flint. Thank you all for coming out today. I'm Anthony Eade. I'm from Orchard Lake, Michigan.
Good evening. I'm Steve Lett, and I'm from Interlochen, Michigan.
Good evening. I'm Janice Villette. I'm from Highland, Michigan, and I also missed roll, so I'm present.
Good evening. I think I'm next. I'm MC. It's good to see you all. I live in Lansing, Michigan.
And I'm Cynthia Orton. I live in Battle Creek, Michigan. Nice to see you all this evening.
In 2018, more than 61% of the Michigan voters intentionally and deliberately passed Proposal 2, a ballot initiative for voters and not legislators to take responsibility for map fairness, public feedback in the redistricting process, creating the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission, MICRC. For the first time in Michigan's history, the MICRC will lead the redistricting process to draw fair and independent maps. Comprised of 13 randomly selected Michigan residents that include 4 who are affiliated as Democrats, 5 who affiliate as independents, and 4 who affiliate as Republicans through a lottery run by the Michigan Department of State. The MICRC has the exclusive authority in this new redistricting process for Michigan congressional, House, and Senate districts. As a fellow resident, the MICRC understands your expectation to draw maps in an open and transparent manner that meets constitutional mandates. Our mission and vision exemplifies our resolve not to just for today, but for future generations as well. In your interaction with the MICRC and its staff, you should witness the core value of integrity, respect, transparency, and being purposeful. Once again, we are glad that you are here and we look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Weiss. Now moving forward in our agenda to the purpose of why we're all here today, our public hearings. If I don't hear any objection, I will share a little bit about our public hearings. Hearing none, I'm coming to you all again. Good evening. As acting chair, my name is Brittany Kellum, and I am also a commissioner of the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission. Can you all see that clearly? Okay. So to ensure fair and impartial maps, the MICRC is required to solicit public input before drawing and redistricting any plan for the Michigan Congressional, House, and Senate districts through a minimum of 10 public hearings across the state. Well, we're doing 16. Flint, where we are right now, represents 7 of those 16 public hearings. I went ahead in the slides. Sorry, I was trying to keep track. It was on my monitor that you all can't see, and I didn't realize I was advancing here. Yep, I went back to this. Yep. All right, per the Michigan Constitution, the purposes for the public hearings are to inform the public about the redistricting process, 2, share the purpose and responsibilities of the commission, and 3, solicit information from you about potential redistricting plans for Michigan's congressional, House, and Senate districts. Every 10 years following the US Census, district lines for US congressional, state House, and state Senate must be redrawn in states across the county to accurately reflect their population. The process of drawing district lines is known as redistricting. In Michigan, here are the district lines that need to be drawn for the 2022 election cycle. The first data from the 2020 census shows that the Senate population, that the state population as of April 1st, 2020 was at 10,077,331. Michigan congressional 13 districts, 775,200 people. Michigan Senate 38 districts, 265,200 people. Michigan House 110 districts, 91,600 people. The MICRC is the sole entity responsible for drawing the district lines. The MICRC operates in an impartial and transparent manner that instills integrity in the redistricting process. The MICRC public outreach represents fairness, awareness, transparency, and engagement that seeks to obtain at least 10,000 distinct public comments in the redistricting process. The MICRC must adopt maps for Michigan's 13 congressional, 38 Senate, and 110 House districts. The districts should be drawn to meet applicable federal and state laws, including the Voters' Rights Act. As mandated by the US Constitution, equal population refers to the amount of people in the district. For congressional districts, it's 761,000 people. Our criteria also includes for Michigan Senate District, it's between 212,400 and 263,500 people. For the Michigan House District, it is between 77,000 and 91,000 residents. Voting Rights Act, federal legislation that prohibits racial discrimination, and communities of interest include arts districts, neighborhoods, businesses, agricultural, education, waterfront communities, and so much more. Although race is important, it is not the only characteristic to identify a community of interest. So what are communities of interest? Communities of interest may include, but shall not be limited to, populations that share cultural or historical characteristics or economic interests. Do not include relationships with political parties, incumbents, or political candidates. What does the MICRC want to know about your community of interest? What name would you give your community? What is the common bond that creates your community's shared identity? What is the geographic area covered by your community? What governmental policies are important for your community? How would keeping your community intact enhance the quality of your representation in Congress or the Michigan legislature? Are there nearby areas that strengthen or weaken your community of interest? And more importantly, why is the MICRC here? Well, simply speaking, we are here to hear from you about where to draw the lines for Michigan's congressional, House, and Senate districts in Flint and throughout the state of Michigan. To listen and learn about your community of interest and to hear directly from you about your ideas. At this time, if there are no objections, I'd like to pass the floor to our General Counsel for public comment guidelines. Hearing no objection, please proceed, General Counsel Pastula.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. My name is Julianne Pastula. I'm the General Counsel to the Commission, and thank you so much for welcoming us to your community. I would like to briefly cover the public comment guidelines for this evening. In-person public comments will take place first, followed by remote public comments. The time limit for each speaker is 2 minutes. Please conclude your remarks when you hear the timer, and there will also be a timer on the screen for your convenience. If any person disrupts the orderly progress of this meeting or refuses to comply with applicable MICRC guidelines and rules, the chairperson may rule that person out of order and/or order their removal from this meeting. As the chairperson indicated, please provide public comment and/or submit your proposed maps in the public comment portal, which is available at www.michigan.gov/MICRC. Thank you again.
Thank you, General Counsel. At this time, I'd like to move on to our in-person public comment. Without objection, we will now begin the public comment portion of our meeting. Hearing no objection, we will now proceed with public comment. Individuals who have signed up and indicated they would like to provide in-person public commentary to the commission will now be allowed to do so. Please step to the nearest microphone when I call your number. You will have 2 minutes to address the commission. Please conclude your remarks when your 2 minutes has ended and you hear the timer. If you feel at any time that you have more to say, or maybe you hear the timer and you finished your thought, but you want to continue to share with us, please, I want to take this time to let you all know about our public comment tool. And you are free to share your comments in writing, including any specific area of the map about which you are speaking. The public comment tool is at www.michigan.gov/MICRC. By the end of the night, we'll all have that memorized. Again, it's www.michigan.gov/MICRC. I'm gonna call odd numbers to the mic that is to my left, and I'll call even numbers unless it's too far for you to walk. I'll have even numbers come to this mic to my right. Okay, so odd numbers here, even numbers to the mic to my right. So I'll call numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4. Numbers 1 and 3 here, 2 and 4 on this side. Number 1, when you reach the mic, you can begin. Also, we're a warm group. Please don't let us just call you numbers all night. Introduce yourself, smile, good evening, share with us. Number 1, you can go ahead.
Thank you. My name is Martha Hines, and for the past 34 years, I have resided in Saginaw Township in Saginaw County. As a Michigan citizen, I am grateful to be able to participate in this public meeting regarding the redistricting process. Thank you, Chair of the Commission, Brittany Kellum, and all of you who are giving your time and effort as members of this commission. It is a significant task you've been assigned, and I pray you will be successful in accomplishing it with integrity, skill, and timeliness. I am a resident of Saginaw County, which is split between the 4th and 5th U.S. congressional districts. This is very confusing and cumbersome when it comes to elections, both for candidates and for voters. Please try to keep our counties across the state undivided. My husband and I have raised 7 sons in Saginaw Township, including our youngest, who is a special needs young adult. His schooling and special services are all centered within Saginaw County and fall within the Saginaw Intermediate School District. Here in Saginaw Township, we are blessed to have a wide variety of ethnic backgrounds represented in the homes on our street. What binds us together most of all is our physical proximity in our neighborhood. We are neighbors, and our neighbors are our friends. Our church is local within our community. Our work in the field of medical care is local within our city. Our schools are important to us. Please, please consider our Saginaw Township City of Saginaw, and Saginaw County to be our community of interest. Please make the geographical boundaries concise and compact. Please help us to have strong, cohesive neighborhoods and communities so we can have a stronger, more productive state for our families. Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time to address the commission, Martha. 2.
Hi, I'm Bill Wright. I'm from Bay City. I had the privilege to speak with you last week in Midland, but I have come again tonight to ask you also to recognize that watersheds can function as communities of interest. Since the Boundary Waters Treaty in 1909, the United States and Canada have worked together to address issues involving the Great Lakes. In 1987, the International Joint Commission, which was created by that treaty, identified 43 areas of concern in the Great Lakes and set up responsibilities for restoring them. The Saginaw River and Saginaw Bay are the largest of all 43 areas of concern and one of the most complex. Clean water is an important objective for our state and federal governments. That said, improving water quality in our rivers is driven by the actions of the people who live nearby. For Saginaw Bay, that's 1.4 million people in 22 counties, including here in Genesee County. The US EPA and several departments of state government guide and support the work to clean up the Saginaw River and Bay. For almost 40 years, I have enjoyed working with local groups in that effort as a citizen advocate. Rivers don't respect local government boundaries, as I asked you to do last week, and as my predecessor did here tonight already. However, with an awareness of these natural features, it is possible to draw legislative districts that link communities that share waterways. If districts follow watersheds, people representing those districts will serve constituents who share responsibilities for the same rivers. Their efforts will contribute to better stewardship of the largest collection of fresh surface water on Earth, our Great Lakes. Given that, the most important thing I can ask for tonight is that you would combine Genesee, Saginaw, and Bay counties, the auto manufacturing urban heart of the Saginaw Bay watershed, within the same congressional districts. These counties share the Flint and Saginaw rivers. Whatever you do, I suggest that your boundaries throughout Michigan will best serve the shared interests of their regions by keeping watersheds together. Thank you for the opportunity to present this to you tonight.
Thank you so much. Thank you for taking the time to address the commission. 3.
Good evening, commissioners. My name is Frances Gilchrist, and I'm the president of the Flint branch NAACP. I have been a member of this community for more than 50 years. On behalf of the Michigan State Conference NAACP and the members of the Flint community, I would like to first thank you for your service to each community in Michigan, making sure that we have equitable lines. We've never been able to enjoy an equitable redistricting. We've been gerrymandered, which is something that we've fought against ever since the beginning of drawing the lines. The NAACP's goal is to educate and organize our membership, our supporters, and the general public as a whole regarding the power of redistricting. We believe that the MICRC hearing should provide specific directions on how to engage all of the citizens as active stakeholders in the redistricting process, and ultimately to exercise their power to elect the representatives of their choice. Our primary focus is to ensure that every community, particularly the Black and Brown communities, have their votes properly weighed and not diluted. In addition to the one person, one vote doctrine, all redistricting plans must also comply with the requirements of the 1965 Voting Rights Act and with the protections of the right to vote found in the 14th and 15th Amendments of the United States Constitution. Why is redistricting so important to the NAACP? Redistricting determines the boundaries of legislative seats from school boards to the U.S. House of Representatives. The ideology and the philosophical views of policymakers in these various legislative seats and of the candidates who seek these seats can influence the types of public policies promoted by legislative bodies. We appreciate the opportunity to provide public comment, and we will reiterate this request with a follow-up. Thank you so much and have a wonderfully blessed evening.
Thank you so much for taking the time to address the commission. 4.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Commissioners. My name is Vivian Kelly. I've been a resident of the Flint community in Genesee County all of my life. I'm here with a group representing the Flint branch of the NAACP, where I serve as First Vice President. I would like the MICRC to adhere to the Voting Rights Act by ensuring that minority voting strengths will not be unreasonably compromised, and all efforts to avoid partisan gerrymandering will be applied. I would also like to address prison gerrymandering and request that the MICRC to consider areas with significant prison populations and the inflated minority voting strengths of such areas. The MICRC should incorporate guidelines that account for district statistics that include this population of individuals that cannot vote. Such measures would account for the actual voting strength of these districts and areas, at least until measures are taken to permanently include these individuals in the areas where they are likely to return after incarceration. I appreciate this opportunity to provide public comment, and I will reiterate this request with a follow-up written submission of comments and reports. Again, I thank you for this opportunity, Vivian Kelly, and thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, Ms. Kelly, for taking the time to address the commission this evening. 5, 6, 7, and 8. 5, 6, 7, and 8.
Good evening. My name is Carol Brown. I live in Mayfield Township in Lapeer County. It's an honor to stand here before you tonight to address the important decision of mapping Michigan districts. My community of interest is the rural agricultural county I live in, with widespread communities of interest in the farming and agricultural industry. Our Lapeer County boundaries currently make up our district lines, keeping our communities of interest intact. 44 years ago, my husband and I chose to make our home in Lapeer County because of the rural, slower way of living, less hustle and bustle, less traffic, and enjoying weekend drives along country roads, seeing horses and cows corralled in the fields as we went by. If the redistricting map were drawn placing my area with an urban area, it would drastically change my community of interest, which is my rural agricultural community, with concerns and needs that I and my neighbors would not be able to relate to. The urban issues may be highlighted over what some might think were smaller scale concerns of a farming community. I, my neighbors and friends would feel that our voices would not be heard because our needs, concerns, and problems may seem smaller and low scale compared to urban issues. Thank you for the opportunity to speak and voice my concerns. Thank you for addressing the mapping of Michigan's districts in a fair way, contemplating the many concerns of citizens that have appeared before you or written to you. Michigan families are putting their hope and faith in this commission to map out fair and unbiased districts with communities of interest in mind. Thank you.
Thank you so much for taking the time to address the commission. 6.
First, let me say thank you for taking on this task. My name is Teresa McGinnis. I am the president of UAW Local 1811 and represent 300 members in this community. I am asking that you take into consideration in keeping the urban metro area together. I, like my members, live and work in this area that is connected by manufacturing, hospitals, and colleges. And I would like to see this made fair for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much for taking the time to address the commission. 7.
Hello, my name is Sherry Boss, and I have resided in Saginaw Township in Saginaw County for 12 years. My husband grew up here and his extended family have been in the township for 55 years. My husband and I are raising 8 sons in Saginaw Township and have educated our children through the Saginaw Township Community School District. Saginaw County is currently split between the 4th and 5th congressional districts. I have peers and friends through my school and church community throughout the county and have found this division to be confusing and divisive. When I look at the current lines of our district, it does not feel like a community that I belong to, just a narrow puzzle piece of neighborhoods that happen to be adjacent on a map. Please do your best to keep the counties undivided in their districts. Please consider Saginaw Township, the city of Saginaw, and Saginaw County to be our community of interest. I thank you for taking on this enormous, difficult task that lays before you. I see this as an opportunity to simmer the divisive culture that exists in our political sphere at this time. Thank you for doing your best to serve the interests of all.
Thank you for taking the time to address the commission. 8.
Hi, my name is Jerry Takach, but my friends call me number 8. Full disclosure, I was an unsuccessful Democratic candidate for the 82nd State Representative, House of Representatives in Lapeer. I'm currently the vice chair of the Lapeer County Democratic Party. So I'm not going to talk about the 82nd district, which is perfectly aligned to the county lines. What I am going to address is the 31st Senate State District and the 10th Congressional District. Currently, Lapeer is linked up through Tuscola County, all the way to Bay County, up to Pinconning along the bay there. What I propose is that the community of interest that I'm interested in is the I-69 corridor from Flint to Port Huron. You shouldn't just take into account where people live, but you should take into account where people work. So people in Lapeer work in a GM plant in Flint or in Pontiac or whatever. In addition, so what it seems like people have been focusing on these urban islands in the middle of a sea of a rural sea. And instead, I wish that we could maybe link the two together and kind of have the representatives and the legislators have their left foot in the city and their right foot in the country. You know, that way they have to address both sides of the story instead of just one side, that I'm just fighting for the urban community or I'm only advocating for the farmers. If you look at Flint, in addition, if you look at a map of the county parks in Genesee County, it follows the Holloway Reservoir and extends all the way into Lapeer County up to Columbiaville. So what I wish that when you redistrict these things, make it like a pie where you have a urban point and a rural community access to it. Thank you.
Thank you. 9, 10, 11, and 12. 9, 10, 11, and 12. Remember, you all are free and we welcome you and encourage you to utilize our public comment tool where you can share your comments in writing, including any specific area of the map in which you speak about this evening or an area of the map that you're thinking about and you don't speak about this evening. The public comment tool is at www.michigan.gov/MICRC. Number 9, if you are ready to speak, you can address the commission.
Okay, thank you. Good evening. My name is Michelle Gushin. I reside in the 5th Congressional District in Genesee County. I'm also a retired teacher from Flint Community Schools, and I'm a very active NEA and MEA retired member. I'd like to thank all of you on the commission for giving your time to create a more equitable district structure so that all Michigan communities are equally represented. To facilitate this, you must start the maps over from scratch. We used to say, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, but in this case, toss those babies out. Our current maps are damaging partisan gerrymandering puzzles and are a direct assault on Michigan's democratic process. Every community has its own idiosyncrasies, strengths, struggles, and contribution, and it is your awesome responsibility to analyze all of these so that Michigan residents, all Michigan residents, prosper. No one area or voter is more important than any other area or voter. No resident should straddle 3 districts to work, to play, and to send their children to school. And neither should a slice of rural agricultural area be shoved into a manufacturing district for purely political gains. Michigan voters deserve transparency, and our Michigan children deserve to reap the benefits of strong, cohesive districts. I know you'll all do your best, and again, thank you for participating in this commission.
We appreciate you taking the time to address the commission. 10.
Good evening. And thank you for the chance to speak to you tonight and for all the time and effort you're putting in on this important work. My name is Judy Daubenmeier, and I am from Genoa Township in Livingston County. Although I live in Genoa Township, I have a Brighton mailing address. I buy groceries in Brighton, use a library and post office in Brighton, fill my car with gas in Brighton, and attend many recreational events in Brighton. I also go to the city of Howell for many things, to the courthouse for meetings and for business, to the Howell festivities and festivals, and to its many restaurants. Brighton and Howell are the 2 biggest cities in our county, and they face similar issues, including infrastructure, budget challenges, policing, and so on. The Grand River Corridor links the 2 cities and extends from Howell east to the Oakland County line. Nearly all our major employers are along Grand River, as are schools, restaurants, healthcare facilities, libraries, stores, gas stations, and more. The people who live in the adjoining townships of Genoa, Hamburg, Green Oak, and Brighton rely on Grand River for services, employment, shopping, and more. We are an economic community of interest. About 2/3 of us work outside the county, and as we are exurban rather than suburban area, we share the experience of commuting in heavy traffic on I-96 or US 23. This makes us different from the rest of the county, and we deserve to have our interests represented by a single representative. I hope you will take your constitutional responsibilities seriously and draw entirely new lines rather than merely adjusting the old gerrymandered ones. And I would also encourage you to strive to create more competitive districts. Right now, so many districts are safe that lawmakers do not really have to compete for votes in the general election. Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time to address the commission this evening. 11.
Good evening. My name is Sherry Polash. I live in Heartland Township, also from Livingston County, and I also want to thank you all for the hard work that you're doing. And I just want to reiterate what number 9 said, which is throw the baby out. The amendment that was passed in 2018 and which created this commission requires you to draw entirely new districts, not just tweak the old ones. Our districts are so gerrymandered that the state house has not adequately represented the voters of Michigan in almost a century. You have to start from scratch. These races need to be competitive. I kind of like the idea of requiring a politician to have one foot in a rural community and the other foot in an urban community, because it will require them to actually listen to voters instead of lobbyists. So I hope you will follow your constitutional mandate, start from scratch, and draw fair and equitable districts. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming to speak to the commission. 12.
Good evening. My name is Rick Warren. I wasn't planning on speaking tonight, so I just put a number on and said, here I am, but I'm glad I showed up. I just kind of seen what's going on in the county. I'm from Lapeer. I live in Elba Township, but I have to stand behind our citizen number 5, and what she did said is not to divide an area, a rural area with a suburban area. Try to keep them within each other. If you want to merge them, I understand that, but don't divide an individual rural area. Let them stay intact. We have enough division. So I'd like to stand behind number 5. So that's all I have to offer you this evening.
We appreciate you considering sharing your comment this evening. So thank you. Glad that you decided to put a number to it. 13, 14, 15, and 16. 13, 14, 15, and 16. 13 and 15 over here. 14 and 16 over here. Go ahead.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Art Reyes. I'm a resident of Genesee County. First, I'd like to thank you all for coming to Flint to listen to the concerns of your citizens. And the first thing that I want to say is that in what you're doing, which is an awesome responsibility, and I'm so glad that you volunteered to do that. Competitive districts will allow for needed conversation, needed compromise on things that are going on. When we have gerrymandered districts the way that we currently have, it doesn't do the representatives any good to actually cross the aisle to try to get things done because they play to their base. It just happens way too often, and we cannot allow for us to fall back. Michigan faces too many issues and too many concerns for us to not be able to move forward. I'm a trustee on the Board of Trustees for Mott Community College. So I understand that urban areas and suburban and rural areas have completely different needs. Mott Community College, our headquarters main campus, is here inside the city of Flint, but we have satellite campuses in Lapeer County, in Clio, Michigan, and in Fenton, Michigan. And what we find is that we cater our programs to the areas in which we have campuses. But what we also find is that when we have programs that can pull everyone together, that's when we do our best. I live in the 5th district, and my community of interest is an auto worker. I'm an electrician for General Motors. I've been a UAW member for 30 years now. And keeping Genesee County in the 5th district whole, combined with Saginaw County and Bay County, allows for us to have the discussion and have the power to be able to talk about the manufacturing base and the things that are necessary there. The people at the far north end of the 5th district have less in common with us than do the people in Saginaw County. Thank you very much.
Thank you for taking the time to address the commission. As a reminder, please seek our public comment tool if you feel like you have more to say or you have something different to say than maybe you shared with us this evening. 14, if we have 14.
Good evening. My name is Eileen Hayes. I'm the Executive Director of Michigan Faith in Action. I've lived in Flint, well, probably many years. So I've been in this community a very long time, and I've seen lots of changes. I've seen spaces where we've had vibrant neighborhoods where now there are abandoned homes, there are vacant spaces, there are spaces that we now call green spaces. And I do have a concern that as we begin to redraw those lines, that how that will be addressed in terms of population. I want to make sure that you are sensitive, that you are not, this is a community where there are a lot of really vibrant, active people, but not to think of that as a rural area just because there are abandoned homes there. I'm also concerned that there is full transparency and this whole process is very equitable. I want to make sure that you address prison gerrymandering is unfair to those who are incarcerated and also unfair to our community. So I really want to make sure that is addressed. And finally, I want to make sure that when you are drawing these new maps, that you're really considering where we work, where we worship, where we live, where we play, and that there is full, complete fairness in our school district and into the services that we can have for our children. Thank you.
Thank you so much for taking the time to address the commission. 15.
Good evening. My name is Mike Seneco, and I am a current resident of the city of Fenton here in Genesee County, and have been in excess of 20 years. Prior to that, I was born and raised in Saginaw Township. I know that's been mentioned several times here this evening. My father still lives in Saginaw Township in the same house I grew up in. In my time here in the city of Fenton, I have, and I'm currently in the 5th district. I could just about throw a baseball into Livingston County. That's how far south in Genesee County I am. I am literally 3 properties from Genesee County, or excuse me, Livingston County, which is a different congressional district than what I currently reside in. And that has generally been the case my entire time in the city of Fenton. I have lived in one district, I cross into Livingston County, and I immediately am in a different congressional district. And so as a result, my community of interest has been split up my entire time while living in the city of Fenton, and everything is okay. My community of interest is Genesee County. That's how it is today. My community of interest, if you take a host of other areas that have been mentioned here tonight, economic, racial, prosperity, education, all of these different types of issues, my community of interest has actually been split in 2 the entire time I've been living in the city of Fenton. I think that's okay. I don't envy what you guys have to do. I respect a tremendous amount what you have to do, because thus far what you've heard this evening are a host of very good ideas which are very hard to implement in reality, and that's unfortunate. What it will likely end up doing is you will end up coming back to a geographic boundary, and you will end up more than likely having to split either a county or a local community such as City of Fenton, which again, as I said, borders Livingston County. Thank you for your time tonight. I appreciate all you've done. Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time to address the commission. 16.
Good evening. My name is Christina Russell. I live in Elba Township in Lapeer County. My community of interest is my rural community, and I'm asking that you keep Lapeer County intact. 30 years ago, my husband and I were living in Oakland County, and we decided to build a house. We knew right away we wanted to live in a rural community, and so we selected Lapeer County. We love the open space, being surrounded by farms, and the overall slower pace. I'm sure people living in an urban metropolitan area enjoy that type of lifestyle, and they choose to live there. But that's not the choice for me, my family, or my neighbors. I'm asking that Lapeer County remain intact within their county boundary lines so my community of interest, my rural community, can remain the same. There are differences in needs, concerns, and priorities for those living in a rural community. If the area where I live was mapped with an urban area, I feel my concerns for my rural community would be overshadowed by the needs of a metropolitan area. I don't feel my voice or the voice of my neighbors would be heard. Thank you all for your work and your due diligence in working to create fair mapping in our state, and thank you for allowing me this opportunity to speak to you tonight.
Thank you, Mrs. Russell, for taking the time to speak to the commission. Can we have 17, 18, 19, and 20? 17, when you are ready, you can address the commission.
Peace. My name is Nair. I'm gonna take this off. Peace, y'all. I'm Naira Sharif. I'm the director of an organization called Flint Rising. And organizationally, we did endorse what became this commission during the proposal process. And I know that there has been a lot of talk about the 5th Congressional District, so I'm not going to go into that. My community and interest is Black people. Black people specifically on the north side of Flint. And I'm going to spend the rest of my time on the House and the Senate, the State House and the State Senate. One of the things that I want y'all to hold and be mindful of as you're redrawing these districts is that many times competitiveness can equal not representation of Black and brown people. And I know that that is going to be a difficult thing to hold both that, but you need to hold it. Because right now we have the 34th House District, which encompasses the north side of Flint, which is the majority of Black people kind of concentrated in. And that has a Black representative. And whatever map, like it needs to be Black. Like that's all I'm gonna say. Like it needs to be Black. Because it's one thing to have, to live in an area and you have someone that doesn't represent your interests. And it's another thing that they don't represent your interests and they don't look like you. So they don't really know or have any sort of similarities to like how you are living your life. The other thing is for the rest of the seats, for the House seats and the Senate seats, hopefully that can encompass the county boundaries, because that is important that you have someone representing them. And then finally, I just want to make sure that this does not like kind of recreate systemic racism, because we have a lot of racist policies in the state of Michigan. And we have a lot of like very horrible kind of like number ones as far as spatial racism. And hopefully like this can kind of like through these policies and redrawing these districts, you can kind of break some of that down. Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time to address the commission. 18.
I want to know if I can file a workers' comp claim here. Just kidding. I just hurt my hip. Okay.
We invite you to have a lovely seat in one of the cushiony chairs.
My name is Ricardo Medina. I live in Bridgeport, Saginaw County. I've been a resident of Bridgeport for about 20 years, and previous to that, I lived in the city of Saginaw for 30 years. People have spoken this evening about keeping the city of Saginaw intact instead of splitting it. Saginaw has a lot of things in common, but before I get into kind of my ideas, and I wanted to first of all thank you for serving in this capacity on this commission. It's an awesome responsibility. The Constitution of the United States guarantees us life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It's impossible to pursue life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness when gerrymandering takes precedence over doing for fairness and equity for all people. And I know that you are going to be entrusted with the responsibility of drawing these lines. And I think it's, as other people have mentioned, to throw the baby out with the bathwater is not a bad idea, is not a bad concept. You have to start from scratch. You have to try to do your level best to ensure the equity and the balance, so you protect the interest of disenfranchised communities so that they have some semblance of power, and specifically Black and Latino populations need to be taken into consideration. I don't envy the task that you have, but I do want to thank you for serving in this capacity. And when you get done with the state of Michigan, I invite you to move to the state of Texas and help them out. That's where I came before I moved to Michigan.
Thank you so much, Ricardo, for taking the time to address the commission this evening. 19.
Hello, my name is Judith Priestley, and I've been a lifelong resident of Genesee County, living all but 10 years of my life in the city of Flint. I'm also a graduate of Flint Community Schools. Currently, I'm throwing out what I wrote. Currently, our 5th district, congressional district, goes from Genesee County all the way up to Iosco.
I have nothing in common with people up in Bay City. I have in Bay County, I have nothing in common with Iosco. Matter of fact, the last time I visited them, I can't even remember when. However, my area is Genesee County, Saginaw. I shop at Birch Run. It's not even in my district. It's a little slice that goes around into the 4th district. I shop in Genesee County, Lapeer. Those are my main areas. So I consider that, ask that you keep those districts intact as much as possible between the cities, the villages, the counties, and the townships. Thank you very much.
Judith, we appreciate you taking the time to share comments with the commission. 20.
Martin Kuzna, Clio area, Genesee County. It amazes me that, I first learned of gerrymandering when I was in civics class as a senior in high school, and the detriment that it has done to this country for, several hundred years. But both parties have used it. And I am very, very encouraged by what the state of Michigan has done with passing of this new law or resolution. And I commend you for stepping up to try to do the right thing to make elections fair. As you know, and you have heard from many people here who have spoken very eloquently about it, there are many issues to consider. But one of the primary ones is the social economic area of consideration of an area. And I live in Genesee County, northern part, and that presently the northern part of Genesee County is served by 3 different districts in the state house. And all 3 of those districts, the person that represents those districts live in the southern part of Genesee County. So there is absolutely no representation of the northern part of Genesee County. So I encourage you, as you debate this and come up with your final lines, that you do what some of the people have said here, start over, because the state of Michigan is so gerrymandered up and down, all the way from the state house to the U.S. state of representatives. And the 5th district, many people have spoken about that, and that is one of the worst gerrymandered districts out there. But I thank you for listening, and I thank you for taking the time to perform this duty. Thank you.
Thank you so much. 21, 22, 23, and 24. 21, 22, 23, and 24. 21, when you are ready, you can address the commission.
Thank you very much for volunteering to take on this very difficult task. My name is Paul Durantz. I'm from Brighton, Michigan. And not only thanking you, but thanking my fellow citizens. I am very impressed with the kind of information, feedback, and effort folks have put into presenting to you. I would like to second Judy's comments on the Grand River Corridor as a community of interest in the Brighton area. But my main concern tonight was the shock I felt when I first learned that our U.S. congressional representation was not following the votes in the state of Michigan. That there were more votes for Democratic candidates for the U.S. House than there were Republican. And when I first heard that, I had to research it. I couldn't believe it. And I found out it was true recently. And I went back to even 2012 election, and it was true then as well. So clearly the districts that we share today in the state of Michigan have to be discarded because they are terribly gerrymandered, where representation at the federal level is completely skewed to one party over the other. As a matter of fact, for votes for Democratic office holders at the federal level, Democratic votes, half of those were lost in the sense that they voted for candidates that could not win. And you might ask, well, how about Republican votes? And they turned out to be less than 20% were lost on their candidates. So it's a skewed system. Please start over. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your perspectives with the commission this evening. 22. No, 22. Come out wherever you are. 23.
Hi, my name is Ellenberg from Genesee County. I'd like to thank all of you for being here tonight and volunteering your time. I'm basically here to educate myself on the situation and the needs of my area districts. And it's been very, very informing of some of the needs and some of the reasons why they need to change and the gerrymandering, the way it's been set up. So I'm really learning a lot tonight, but I just, I'm glad that I came and took the time to hear what's going on. So thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate you coming out to learn more and while we're learning more. So we're in this together. 24.
Hello, thank you commissioners for being here tonight. My name is Elisa Urtiaga Medina, and I am a resident homeowner and Saginaw community leader and small business owner. And I'm here to make a statement that our congressional district and being in the 5th district with Genesee County, Saginaw, Bay County, I see a lot of communities of interest around industry, work, and interest in higher education and schools, all sharing and moving across the 75 corridor. And also, I've worked on some teams that have been here in Flint as well as in Saginaw, working as a public health navigator, trying to make sure that healthcare is accessible and equitable. So I don't want to separate myself from that team. I have interest in keeping us intact. As far as the state district lines go, I want to make sure our city stays intact, because right now, like the township said, separating us between 95th and 94th district is pretty divisive. And I like the words that somebody said today about racial spatializing, and it causes quite a lot of divisiveness in the city around who gets resources and who gets ignored. I want to make sure that you keep this in mind when you're addressing the maps, and we need to keep our city whole, and we don't want to separate the city west, east, south. We also, county, I live in the city. I live 10 minutes away from my in-laws in the 4th. and then I also have 5 minutes to my job in the city. So this is very divisive. I don't like it. So that's what I'm going to end with today. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for sharing your comments with the commission. Without objection, we will now recess for 15 minutes. So hearing no objections, we'll stand in recess until, what is that? 7:22. Thank you, Commissioner Satella. It just wiped away. So you'll see us back and come back here at 7:22. I was like, Thank you for everyone who stuck around with us and who's still around. I call this meeting of the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission back to order at 7:31. At this time, I'll ask that the secretary please call the roll.
Present.
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 Present, attending remotely from Reed City, Michigan.
Present.
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 Present. Present.
Commissioner Wagner. I think they're having audio issues virtually.
Present, attending remotely from Charlotte, Michigan.
Present. Present.
Thank you, Ms. Reinhardt. Without objection, we will now continue our public comment portion of our meeting. Hearing no objection, we will now proceed with public comment. As a reminder, again, individuals who have signed up and indicated that they would like to provide in-person public commentary to the commission will now be allowed to do so, or I should say, we will continue the process of being allowed to do so. You will step to the nearest microphone when I call your number. Again, odds are going to be on the left, evens will be on the right, and you will have 2 minutes to address the commission. Please conclude your remarks when your 2 minutes has ended and you hear the timer. Again, if you forgot something that you wanted to say or you want to extend or contextualize your public comment in any way, please go to our public comment tool and share your comments in writing, including any specific area of the map in which you are speaking. The public comment tool is at www.michigan.gov/MICRC. We will continue our public comment with numbers 25, 26, 27, and 28, 25, 26, 27, and 28. 25, when you get to the microphone, you are free to address the commission.
Hello, Commission. My name is Sergio Medina. I grew up in Saginaw Township, but currently live in the city of Saginaw. And in retrospect, I can now see more clearly the damaging effects of arbitrary lines through communities. Saginaw County is already very gerrymandered by race. It is my hope that the commission decides to unify Saginaw County. It is also my hope that the city of Saginaw is not further divided and isolated after generations of redlining and gerrymandering. Many people in the city of Saginaw work in outlying areas of the county, and likewise, people in the county very much work in the city. People in Saginaw County share access to parks, annual events, and businesses. I would also like to say that Michigan districts should be redrawn to account for the current disparity that allows for Republicans to have disproportionate representation in regards to actual votes to congressional seats. Thanks for your time.
Sergio, thank you so much for taking the time to address the commission. 26.
Hello, and thank you, Chairperson Kellum and fellow commissioners. My name is Dave Nance, and I live in the Fenton Township in Genesee County. I've lived in the Fenton area for 31 years. We've raised our family there. Fenton Township and the surrounding cities and townships in the Fenton, Heartland, Holly, Linden, and Grand Blanc areas are my communities of interest. We sent our kids to school there, worked and shopped there, as well as enjoyed the local community parks and facilities. These basic elements of our daily lives are central to our well-being. To draw district lines that separate out parts of this region wouldn't contribute to the benefit of life in the area. That will actually tend to isolate that separated piece. I don't believe this would be beneficial to me, my family, or the other citizens in our local area. From a development sense, these areas tend to run together. When you leave the region, you're traveling into farms and countryside. This is somewhat like a border to the area overall. My description probably sounds much like that of other citizens' communities of interest. With that in mind, I'd like to make my next point. I believe this to be very important. That is keeping our districts somewhat square in shape. I believe others may think, as I do, that given choices, we select an area to reside in that satisfies our needs and wants. That location is now at the center of where we want to live our lives. District mapping should reflect the inherent notion that we as citizens have centered our lives in the midst of an overall area. Typically a location not related to some other area way off, say 2 or 3 counties away. Recognizing these areas would benefit us citizens. I would most like all 3 of the maps to follow the same layout principle. And so again, my communities of interest that are Fenton Township and the cities of Fenton, Heartland, Holly, Linden, and Grand Blanc are of most importance to me and my family. We would like all 3 of the defined districts to line up as one as much as possible when they are finally determined. Thank you for your time and dedication to integrity with respect to the redistricting project. Thank you and have a great evening.
Have a great evening as well, and we appreciate you taking the time to share your comment with the commission. 27. (27) 28.
Madam Chair, I have handouts. Is Secretary Benson here? I have some handouts for Secretary Benson. Is Secretary Benson here? The secretary here? I need to give this to the secretary. The keeper of the record is the secretary, not anybody else, unless you want to sign for him. Okay. See what that is? That's for the secretary of the commission. I'm submitting that as, yes, that is this training module for advanced for the facilitated dialogue.
Thank you so much.
Okay. So my name is James Gallant. I represent the Marquette County Suicide Prevention Coalition, and my community of interest is the entire United States of America and its Constitution. My personal opinion based on facts is that the Secretary of State, Joyce Benson, has violated the trust of the people and the Constitution of the state of Michigan by overstepping the authority granted her by immediately after convening the first meeting, she wrongfully assigned the floor for public comment to her friend and political ally, Dr. Nancy Wang. Then she allowed extensive deliberation without the required motion second before conducting an election of the chair, which happened to be Commissioner Lett. And these meetings are not properly posted at the Secretary of State's office on the front door. That's not on there, and it wasn't there in Lansing. And also, Commissioner Lett immediately breached the precedents when he became the chair. This is what's happening. The new chair starts, and then they get the facilitator creates the meeting, the rules. That's what that facilitated dialogue is. And it is incompatible with public administration in Michigan. It's contrary to law. And Commissioner Lett did that. And when he became the chair, he immediately started doing a voice vote when Secretary of State said, no, these are virtual meetings. You have to do a roll call vote. And he said, oh, we're just going to do some, some voice votes. And then Commissioner Lett also in January assigned the floor to your attorney, and she brought in a draft rules of procedure, which came from a secret session meeting of some sort in closed session and not public meetings, and she came up with a draft. And then Commissioner Lett allowed her to continue for 3 meetings, floating this for 3 meetings, and then finally approved the 3rd draft on a motion at the end, the 3rd meeting later, which is completely violation.
You're allotted 2 minutes.
I'm finishing my thought, right? You said I could? Yes? Yes? I mean, you
By
interrupted
my
me.
count, it sounded as though you are
I ha-
continuing a new
Well, no, I
thought.
have a couple sentences. I was finishing my sentence. Is that right?
Please continue the sentence that you were speaking on last, and then your 2 minutes is up.
Okay. The facilitated dialogue process that you are using is incompatible with public administration in Michigan. And I expect another 2 minutes after. And you didn't tell everybody they can wait and get in line after and have another 2 minutes. You haven't been telling the public that. This is a violation of my civil rights and my due process.
You're
and
allotted 2
equal
minutes
protection
is up,
under
Mr.
the
Gallant.
Constitution of the United States. And
Your allotted 2 minutes has ended. Thank you. $29. Again, as a reminder to the public, if you have more to say, in order to honor everyone's time here, we are not as strict as we could be with the 2 minutes, and we don't want to give you the taboo buzzer sound. But at the end of the 2 minutes, you really must wrap up your thought, and you can continue to share anything that you would like to say, including visions that you have for a map on our public comment tool. By now, you should be able to say it with me, but www.michigan.gov/MICRC. 29, hi, how are you? Good evening. We're ready for you to address the commission.
Hi, first I want to say thank you for being here and thank you for allowing us to come in and comment. My name is Dave Onufri. I'm a lifelong resident of Genesee County. I was born in Flint, Michigan. Spent my school years and graduated from Grand Blanc. I now live in Davison Township, and basically the northeastern part of the county. And I have a cousin that lives in Fenton Township, which is the southwestern part of the county. And I hope that when you guys are all said and done, that the county still looks kind of similar to the way it does now. I've been where I am now for 25 years. And I hope that I still vote in the same place when you're done. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you so much for taking the time to address the commission this evening. 30.
Hello, my name is Laurie Welch. I currently live in Lapeer County. I was born in Flint. I grew up in Davison. I've lived in Flushing. I've lived in Lansing. I have a cabin in Iosco County. So I've pretty much been all over this state. Right now, the members of the state of Michigan are not represented. You can see that when we have a general election and we have no representation in our House, in our Senate, in our own state. So I hope that, unlike Elbridge, Gary, we do not do this for political gain, that we have the voices represented. And also, I've heard Lapeer County is all non-urban. I know of 18 manufacturers that now reside in Lapeer County. I work for General Motors, it's where we get our parts. I think I do not envy your job, because I think a lot of people go through life with blinders and they don't realize how mixed their community already is. And mixing a community does not make it less, it does make it stronger. Whether someone has the same ideas as you or not, it will only make it stronger to hear all sides of an issue, whether it's people of color, whether it's people of a different political party. All voices together make the fabric stronger, not weaker. And I think if you make your decisions when you're making these new districts and the fabric is not all red or not all blue or not all yellow, then we will have a lot stronger state when we have a mix of each and every voice in the state of Michigan. Thank you.
Thank you so much for taking the time to address the commission this evening. 31.
Hi, my name is Doris Suchu. I came to the other meeting in Lansing because I just heard about it and I didn't know that I'd get a chance and I didn't have anything prepared. So I'm here prepared. I'm from Flint. I've always had my home in Flint, no matter where I lived. I won't go through that. I'm going to cut to the chase. Number one, I think that however this is divided up, the districts, they must be by a nonpartisan group. And the fact that you even exist, because I voted for you, and 60% of those voting did, which means that kind of representation wasn't reflected in our state legislature for a long time, which is the problem. And that's why the redistricting is critical. I had a whole list of other things that are problems that do the same thing that this type of gerrymandering does. Long lines, even one to possibly have a felony if you give water, which didn't occur, which shocked the hell out of me to anybody even would try to do that. I'm concerned where my country is going if this kind of pattern continues. My bottom line is that however you do it, and a lot of issues have come up with people wanting to about rural, whatever. I don't even think about that. I think about whatever you do to address the issues that people bring to you, however that affects your redistricting. Please be sure that when you look at that it doesn't end up doing what gerrymandering did. That is my most important feeling. I believe that we believe in democracy and freedoms, and one is to be fairly represented. And representation is not happening here. And I know it's across the country, but this is Michigan. And I really appreciate that we helped bring you into existence and that you have a tough job, but please look at however you address people's issues, that it is representative of how people are in the population. And to be competitive doesn't mean that we give people spots and give them more than they have when they talk about competitive. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing your comments and your perspective. Sure, yep. $32.
Good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity. I understand about the redistricting, and I just want it to be fair. I don't believe any of you are from Genesee County, but at times the voting is difficult for some of the people in Genesee County by changing areas and districts or times in which people can vote. This past week, I took a sojourn through Genesee County and just was wondering what's going on in my county, because I am from Genesee County. I rode past and I located a beach when we were kids we used to go to. They've cut off the oxygen, the water supply, and now it's just all overgrown. But still there's a sign out there that says Goldenrod Beach. And I asked someone that was there, I said, well, can you still swim here? He said, oh no, they don't allow swimming at the beach. I said, so what do they do out here? Because there was all kinds of picnic areas where families could go and picnic and fellowship. Churches used to go out there and have picnics. And they've turned it into a disc throwing park. That's all they do out there. They throw the frisbees in competitive format. I said, now this is a county park. Why can't the whole county use it? And I hear my bell going off, but across from that is Sherwood Forest, where you used to be able to go, anybody could go and ride horses. I think it was $10 for a half hour, $20 for a half hour, whatever it is. And that is now private. They have horses, but you got to have a horse to even get into the park, in which it was open to the public. You and I may not have a horse, but we might enjoy to horseback ride or take the grandkids horseback ride. And I think it's unfair that they've taken so many parks, so many beaches, because those were just two that I went to last week. I plan to go to many more.
Your allotted 2 minutes is up, ma'am.
So anyway, thank you for allowing me to speak, and I'm gonna leave and go help a third grader with homework.
Again, as a reminder, please go to the public comment tool at www.michigan.gov/MICRC to share your comments that you have maybe shared with us in person via a microphone, but share them in writing, include specific areas of the map in which you're speaking or the places in which you live. At this time, we are going to move to our remote public comment. Individuals who have signed up and indicated they would like to provide live remote public commentary to the commission will now be allowed to do so. I will call your name and our staff will unmute you. If you are on a computer, you will be prompted by the Zoom app to unmute your microphone and speak. If you are on the phone, a voice will say that the host would like you to speak and prompt you to press *6 to unmute. I will call on you by your name. And also please note that if you experience technical or audio issues or we do not hear from you for about 3 to 5 seconds, we will move on to the next person in line and then return to you after they are done speaking. If your audio still does not work, you can email redistricting@michigan.gov and we will help you troubleshoot so you can participate during the next public comment period at a later hearing or meeting. You will have 2 minutes to address the commission. Please conclude your remarks when your 2 minutes has ended and you hear the timer. Please go to the public comment tool and share your comments in writing, including any specific area of the map in which you are speaking. The public comment tool is at www.michigan.gov/MICRC. For the purpose of the public record, we were to have 7 virtual comments, but we only have 2 present. We'll begin with our first remote public comment. And first in line is Devin Bathish. Excuse me if I mispronounce any part of your name. Feel free to correct me. You have 2 minutes to address the commission. Give a few moments for the staff to unmute you.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yep, I was gonna say that's the first step. I can see you, Devin, and I can hear your voice.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Brittany and everybody else. Thank you for attempting to pronounce my name. My name is Devin Bathish. I am a Flint Arab American. I was born and raised in Flint. I'm also the executive director of the Arab American Heritage Council, which is a Flint nonprofit catering to the Arab American community. And, you know, we've talked a lot, actually, a lot of good input around what we want to do in redistricting. But one of the things I want to uplift is that the Arab American community has been holistically lost in the process at a federal level for basically 70 years. Arab Americans, we cannot actually mark a box on the census. There is no federal government data that records us. And so it is very important that we actually listen to Arab Americans, particularly because Michigan is actually the 2nd highest population in the state of Arab Americans. Most people know Detroit and Dearborn as the largest populations of Arab Americans, but actually in Genesee County, we have an estimated 20,000 Arab Americans in the area. In Saginaw, we also have a growing population as well. In the mid-Michigan area, there are a lot of Arab Americans. And so as a community of interest, Arab Americans have historically been underrepresented. We've been intentionally targeted and surveilled by the government, but also we've been divided politically as an intentional choice. And one of the biggest things I want to just mention is that in ECHO, we need to start over, right? We were not intended to be a part of the system when the system was created. We have to redraw these maps to ensure that everyone is accounted for, and to also ensure that those Arab Americans and also all communities, all marginalized communities of color are included in a holistic, districts, right? I do not want to see division across, or sorry, within districts to basically pocket out different communities so that our vote doesn't mean anything. We need to be very kind of intentional about how we go about doing this, but also we need to have an understanding that Arab Americans are a part of this process. We want our voices to be heard, and we need to be listened to when we are talking about this, and for our voices to finally matter. So just be very intentional about that, as well as keeping the districts together very much in the same way around Saginaw, Midland Bay City, and the mid-Michigan area. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Devin, for taking time to address the commission. Our next and final remote public comment for this evening is Channing Mckay. Channing Mckay, give a few minutes for staff to unmute you. You will have 2 minutes to address the commission.
Hi, everybody. Channing Mckay, thank you for having me. I live and work in Saginaw, currently in the office. I would echo a lot of the points that have been addressed during this meeting, especially in regards to representation for communities of color. Being in Saginaw, communities of color have often been underrepresented, and that has been in place for decades. And I think that is pretty reflected in the current lines for the State House and U.S. Congress districts for the city of Saginaw and the surrounding communities. Both of those cut around the city of Saginaw very intentionally to separate it from the larger Saginaw Township and more, I suppose, more rural communities in Saginaw. That said, I think for my communities of interest and what I'd like to consider follows a couple different things. The I-75 corridor from Genesee County through Bay County have had similar industries for the past 70 years. Furthermore, I'd like to add the environmental consideration of the Saginaw Bay watershed, which also includes Genesee County in its totality, as well as Saginaw County and Bay County. And they all face pretty similar environmental considerations and recreational uses. And then finally, I'd like to add in the ALICE population, the asset limited, income constrained, employed population. So in Bay County, Saginaw County, and Genesee County, that population represents 35% or more of the population of the households. So they're all facing pretty similar socioeconomic considerations. And with that, thank you for your time and good luck with the work.
Channing, thank you so much for taking the time out to speak to the commission this evening. At this time, that concludes our remote public comment. Now that the first opportunity for both in-person and remote public comment has concluded, without objection, we will now hear from individuals seeking to provide a second 2-minute public comment. Hearing no objection, we will now proceed with individuals seeking to provide a second 2-minute public comment. Individuals, as a reminder, who have signed up and indicated that they would like to provide in-person public commentary to the commission will now be allowed to do so. Please step to the nearest microphone when I call your number, and you will have 2 minutes to address the commission. Please conclude your remarks when your 2 minutes is ended and you hear the timer. If you feel like you have something more to say, something you forgot to say, please go to the public comment tool and share your comments in writing, including any specific area of the map in which you are speaking about. The public comment tool is at www.michigan.gov/MICRC. First in line to provide a second public comment is number 1. You are now invited to address the commission. You have 2 minutes.
That's what you said. Okay, my name is James Gallen. I represent the Marquette County Suicide Prevention Coalition, and my community of interest is the entire state of Michigan and its constitution. And I handed the handout to you, and that is the training manual from the National Association of County and City Health Officials that is provided to every health department in the state of Michigan. And this facilitated dialogue process, in my personal opinion, based on the facts, is incompatible with public administration in Michigan because it, well, and I'd asked for the commissioners to please give full disclosure if anyone here has been trained or has studied any of this that facilitated dialogue process, because this was created in Ingham County Health Department and in conjunction with the Michigan Public Health Institute. And it was created in my personal opinion, in direct contradiction to the Ingham County Board of Commissioners bylaws. The Ingham County Health Department is advisory only. Marquette County is not. They make their own policies. They're independent and they have autonomy like that. But the Ingham County Health Department does not have that. And this guy named Doak started making these policies, but they didn't get approved by the County Board of Commissioners. So they're completely inappropriate. And I've been working it out with them. So, and I also found out today that the Voters Not Politicians organization, their certification of assumed name was terminated by Dr. Nancy Wang today, representing, or not today, but on January 6, 2021, representing the Count My Vote 501c3 corporation. And so that organization, Voters Not Politicians, does not exist anymore as far as the state of Michigan is concerned. And I'm concerned about the tax deductibility of my donations now, because they were never a 501c3. They were like a offshoot organization as a doing business under an assumed name by Count My Vote. That was never disclosed to the community. That was never disclosed to anyone. And so please look into that. Thank you very much.
Thank you for taking the time to address the commission. At this time, both our remote and in-person public comment is complete. I would also like to take this time to extend acknowledgements. Everything that you see here takes a lot of work, right? It's the work from you all first for coming out and sharing this time with us. And then I would also like to acknowledge my fellow commissioners for hanging in there and doing the job that we're assigned to do, but we do so with great intention and joy coming to each city. So I would like to thank the commissioners. I would like to thank all of you all, the audiovisual team, the entire MDOS staff, and our interpreters that have been busy this whole time, making sure that to the best of their ability, everyone understands what is happening. If I left out anyone, the volunteers out front, those making sure that name tags and numbers were assigned, those photographing everyone, just a complete and huge warm thank you for the work that went into tonight's hearing. As the items on the agenda are complete and the commission has no further business, a motion to adjourn is in order. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
The motion, let's see if I can do it just with sound, has been made by Commissioner Witches. Yes. Second. Do I have a second to the motion to adjourn?
Second.
Second made by Commissioner Lett. It is all in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it and the motion carries. Meeting is adjourned at 8:04. Thank you, everyone. Be well and travel safe.
I lived in Lansing.